Do you ever feel like, especially as a child, that you felt very isolated? There's a lot of trauma in you in terms of rejection, and loneliness and being betrayed, almost being abandoned as a child. Well, we're here to say today in our podcast to say that you don't have to keep bringing this trauma up and being the victim of this trauma anymore. We see it mostly in the people that we work with and the people that, and friends as well, but mostly in star seeds and people who feel different and, want to then be healers. But we can't help and heal other people until we start overcoming some of this ourselves. So, for this morning's podcast, both Rob and I got the word unity from our guides. And so, we're going to explore what this means to all of us. So, welcome to the Shifting Realities podcast. I'm your host, Julie Allison, and with me is my co host and friend, Robert Perry. So, if we start with you, Rob, first, because what we want to do today, first and foremost, is explore unity as one person, as a oneness in ourselves first. After that, we will explore how we are connected with everyone. So, Rob, what do you think about
Indeed.
oneness in terms of ourselves?
Oneness in terms of ourselves is a very, very simple concept if you allow yourself to embrace it. And that is that you are not separate from anything. We are all part of the same thing.
Mm,
And you can christen that whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it God or the universe or whatever, I don't mind. But we are all born of the same energy and we all return to the same energy, these 3D people that we are. And there is no separation. We choose to separate ourselves as we grow through life because we're conditioned to do that,
mm,
because we see segments of society and we peg ourselves in certain places. So it's very easy, I think, as you grow old or older, to you sort of think you're looking for your tribe, but you maybe don't look for your tribe.
mm,
You identify with a way of thinking and you gravitate that way. And if you're not careful, you get sucked into that way of thinking.
mm.
So it's really, really important for me when I work with anybody, and I'm sure with you, Julie, that who you are is absolutely the essence. Who is you? Who is the core of you? And who is the core of me? And how do we relate? And how are we connected? And yet how are we different
Mm.
in the same way? So the unity is it's difficult to really explain it because we are, of course, we're all different people, but we are all of the same energy source. The
Yes.
minute you start denying that you come from the same energy source, you create division. We were talking earlier that I was saying that when I work with clients, I still do what I've been doing for years, and that is doing soul retrieval. Because when you have lived a life and say you have broken from people in your life or there have been traumas in your life, a bit of your energy connects to that energy and it goes away from you. And likewise, you hold some of that energy yourself from the other side of the trauma, whoever's dealt the trauma or whatever the situation is that's dealt the trauma. So you need to understand that you can take your energy back because it is yours, and you can give the energy you have back that doesn't belong to you. And you can restore your oneness by doing that. It's something you do with immense respect
Mm.
because it is an absolutely natural thing that we collect each other's energy. And that's how we find our tribe, and that's how we sometimes get misled into the wrong tribe because the energy looks attractive, but it's not quite right.
Mm.
So anyone who's been abandoned, as you were saying, or bullied or come through a bad relationship really needs to restore themselves back to their own fullness, their own
Yeah.
oneness. And you do that by reclaiming. Do you do that anymore, Julie, or is that something
Yeah,
you've
no, I
stopped?
do that with myself and clients. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's when we even see this little spell in ours is that we always feel like there's a missing piece. I've done some work, but there's still a piece missing, still this
Mm.
missing piece. And sometimes that's the clue, that is the bit of clue, that you're still not this wholeness, that this complete sovereign self. And that's also okay wherever you are on this, in this planet. I don't want to say journey, but because it makes it feel so long that we'll never end it.
Yeah.
And trust me, trust the guides. Yeah, that will be ending. It will be ending at some point in time. Everything just goes in cycles. But yes, the reason it's the unity kept being brought up yesterday when I was asking what should we do for our podcast, is that I've seen it quite a lot in people I've been in connection with, so that can be clients and with friends. Is this, that we still are choosing, even healers are choosing to play in the victimhood of, they've done this to me, they've done that to me. But that's simply because we're actually sharing that frequency, that particular resonance field. Let's just take, in bullying, because Rob and I have both been through that in the past. I just don't feel anything. I feel nothing about it now, which, sometimes can make you feel a bit cold, but it literally is because we've worked through, past
Yeah.
lives, I don't even want to call it traumas anymore. But yeah, when you work with somebody, they'll either say something, or you can even just see it in the body: complete resistance, avoidance, everything they can do to deflect from looking deep within themselves, which again, we talk about the going within. So we mean just simply connecting with your heart space and understanding it, being aware to start with, and having that appreciation and acceptance that, yeah, there is a missing piece, and that, is it about somebody else? Are we there hating somebody else? And we should never be in that. And is this, not to be human? It's about allowing yourself to be at peace with who you are, so so that you're not in the resonance field of all this hatred. Because what does that do? Makes us feel anxious, makes us feel in fear. And remember, our whole mission is to step away from fear. So anything in the face of adversity, so it's to see the fear, so it's to walk into it, walk directly into it, but without facing, without actually feeling the fear. So to start with, yes, we may feel those emotions. So we don't avoid them. We don't avoid those emotions. We, respect them, and look at them and say, what's going on here? And in terms of, we'll still keep going back to unity. In terms of this is, literally, why am I, we get a lot of, I still get a lot of friends and therapists who say, "Oh, I can't bear to be near other people. It's too much. Oh, I'm an empath. Just can't be dealing with other people." And then accepting it. But you're accepting being the victim and living in the trauma when that's the bit you're avoiding. So I do apologize, and I don't apologize right now if that's triggered you, because that is what we're wanting. That's what we want to wake and shake up in you right now. That there's never, ever any need to be that. The empathy is this lovely, wonderful gift to understand our connectedness. That's all we are. Is some of us feel more of the connection to others than us. So again, we sort of have this. I think this, don't you, Rob? Where we also start with, if we look at the connection between different people, where you'll get somebody. We talk a lot about finding your tribe in the spiritual world, and I think from that, people have a preconceived notion that the only people in their tribe will be like-minded people that are spiritual. And in actual fact, when you work with the guides, what they're telling you, and understand that knowing of who you are as consciousness, that couldn't be further from the truth, because you will still have the missing piece. You're not getting all the data set, as I would see it in my analytical mind. You're not getting all the pieces of information. You're not seeing people who you won't see them as spiritual, but who have a magnificent understanding of the connections of this world, who can give you that beautiful information, that download of what is. Do you see that as well, Rob?
Continually,
Mm,
continually. Working with, let's say, like-minded spiritual souls has pluses and minuses.
mm,
And the pluses are fairly obvious in that you can work on a different level. You start at a different level. But it can also be really, really challenging, because whoever you're working with will have their own journey, their own expectations, and their own experience, and their own belief. And it might not match yours entirely, which is
yeah.
fine. But it does make it really hard to work with them, because you will go so far down a piece of work, and then you'll encounter the resistance. And the resistance is often, oh, I wouldn't have done it that way. I don't think that. I think this. And I'm happy to have that conversation, and you're welcome to try and persuade me your way.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fine. But when
Mm,
you work with someone who isn't necessarily identifying or self-identifying as spiritual, it's so much easier, because you might deal with a little bit of skepticism, which is
mhm.
absolutely normal. I still have skepticism. But what you get is a blank slate. Someone who
Yes.
just says, here I am. I recognize I'm not going the way I want to go, or I'm not going the way I want to go with any focus or speed or intention. Can you help?
Mm,
And then you can just step right in, and you can just do the most amazing work.
mm.
And they maybe will become part of your tribe.
Yes,
you know
absolutely.
as you said just a little while ago, it's we do tend to look for our tribe.
Yes.
And it's easy for us to say, oh, anyone on a spiritual bent, anyone into alternative healing or medicines or whatever is my tribe. And that,
Mm.
I'm sorry, isn't the case. Many are not my tribe at all. And when you
I,
find one who is, it's just amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
it's
know
quite
about
rare.
yeah. I was going to say I don't know about Europe, but sometimes I've got into a spiritual gang,
Yeah.
spiritual tribe,
Yeah.
and actually after a while it's felt very icky. Really,
Yeah.
it kind of the way I can feel it. I can just feel it just above my heart. It feels like, oh, very sticky, icky. This
Yeah.
does not feel right at all, and that's been with other spiritual people. And yet I can feel alive and expanded with people just what we would class as your everyday everyday
Yeah.
normal person in the street, who just
Yeah.
makes you laugh and gives you some information that you think, whoa, this thing doesn't trigger them, why does it
Mm,
trigger me? Or how have they got over that? Or anything. They're just, they haven't had to feel that they've been their own healer to heal themselves. And that's
absolutely.
what we should be. What the guides are showing us, what the reason we talk about unity is because that's what's stopping us. Our resistance and thinking, well, I have done this modality and that modality to do the healing with, in a way that kind of restricts us, and we're not open to everything else that's out in that world, and all the connectedness, and all, the reason we're finding tribes is that's great. That's part of our purpose. That's part of our calling. We will be called to find the right tribes, and find the wrong tribes and know that, then understand that it's wrong. That's just part of the lesson. There's nothing wrong with that as
Yeah.
well. I've learned a lot of it the hard way with certain people, and that's okay. That's part of delving in and coming. Delving into the to the pond and coming back out again. Okay, not drowned,
Indeed. I'm
but
glad you
better.
used the word gangs
Yes.
instead of as an alternative for tribes, because gangs are rife in the spiritual world,
Mm,
and bullying is rife in the spiritual
it
world,
is.
and it
Yeah.
often comes from gangs of like-minded people.
Mm, mm,
And I wouldn't like to say that they're doing it intentionally, or
mm,
you know trying to cause harm. It's a group of people who really strongly believe something and decide you should believe it too.
mm.
It's also, and I'm sorry to say to anyone from the community that's listening, a lot of spiritual people who are guessing their spirituality, are gleaning it
Yes.
from other sources and cobbling it
Yes.
together into something they think they can disseminate.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that is a very dangerous area for me, because that is not about your own unity. That's about almost thieving other people's knowledge, putting it together into something that you think is a sellable package, and then doing that.
Mm.
and not taking no for an answer, which can be very uncomfortable and
Mm.
very hard to spot if you're not a little bit on the journey already.
Yeah. Mm.
Do you come across that much?
Yeah, the guys.
Mm.
Sorry, Rob. The guys are just. I'm downloading as we speak.
Good.
The guys are just told that it's almost like parasitic.
Yes,
People, coming on the back of things.
it's a word I didn't want to use, but you're
We
right.
don't
Yeah,
want to use,
yeah,
and that's another thing of
yeah,
avoidance. But yes, it can be potentially
yeah.
parasitic, and create it can even just create entities that we wouldn't want. And I don't necessarily mean other beings, just things that can come into our field that that is something, let's say, of a lower vibration that we just don't want.
Yeah.
Rob and I are all about empowering you, creating your own, first and foremost, your own unity. Who are you? There's a question we get asked a lot,
Hmm.
who am I? I don't know who I am. And we always want to do it from time to time. I will ask again as I get into a new version of myself, well, who am I now? And who am I now? And beyond that, and beyond that, which is more exciting. But yeah, it's to find, it's how is it you want to be, not what you're hearing off everybody else. Rob and I do these podcasts because we every week we tune in to what's going on technically in the collective, but we're seeing it in our own world as well. So I know that I'm resonating in this world of the guy of where the guys are saying you need to talk about unity because it's not happening. You need to tell people yet again to stop being in this division, stop dividing everybody. Whilst diversity is good in some senses, yeah, treating everybody as well, them and us, is not in the oneness, is not the connection, is not unity. And that is then therefore triggering us into whatever traumas we've come up against, to feed in to the traumas of other people, whether that's, I don't know, people in the government or whoever we say they, us, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
today. So yeah, and again, that's where a lot of them, we call it parasitic. It's where we can, where a lot of things start attaching that are just not
Yeah.
necessarily, they're just not necessary. And then there's my job getting harder because somebody will come for a massage. I'm thinking, oh yes, there's some, sort of branches of all, twigs and ropes and cords of all sorts of things,
Yeah.
of things we've hung on to. And that's not unity. That's not connectedness. That's a connectedness in a more kind of a negative way. And we're talking about building a connectedness of this from within, this ultimate, the
Yeah.
oneness of being at peace. When you get to consciousness, when Rob and I get to consciousness and we feel that ultimate peace, love, serenity, that ultimate feeling safe in me, that I'm safe in me now, I'm safe to be me, I'm safe in me. And then thinking about there's no judgment. When you then look into your reality and what's going on in the outside world, is the connectedness to you, is what you've created through your frequency, through what is in your world, who is in your world. And if there's something you don't like in your world, it is okay, that's okay. And it's okay to create a different world, to have people in your world that you do respect, and who respect you back, a
Mm.
lot of reciprocity there.
And
Yeah.
standing up for it, Julie, being honest about it
Yes.
and not
Yes.
hiding it. Hence this podcast, because we
Yeah.
realized that we had to stand up and be counted.
Yes, exactly. We have to
There's
do.
that wonderful dinner party conversation. So what do you do?
Yes.
And you sort of go, okay, I'm going to tell you what I do, and your perception of me is going to change by the time I finish this sentence,
Yes.
probably
Yes.
for the worse. And do you know what? I really
Great.
don't care.
Yahoo.
I really don't care, because you asked and I'm going to tell you. And I've
Yeah.
always been a bit like that. I've never
Yes.
been
Yeah.
shy about saying who and what I am, rightly or wrongly, doesn't matter.
They're right or wrong.
And
Yeah.
it's fascinating to watch people around a dinner table who perhaps you don't know, you might know two, and the rest you don't know. Watch
Mm.
them try to process what you've just said,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then usually change the subject quite quickly. But every now and then, someone will come up to you at some point and say, "Tell me more about what you just said. Then, what did you mean, and how do you do that?" And then okay, here's an open soul, because that's really all I ask in a client is open mind.
Yeah.
This session will go wherever you allow it to go. I can guide, I can't force. So I love an open mind more than anything else in the world.
Yes.
Just reject by all means, but first listen. And I'll do the same. I'll respect that and I'll honor that in return.
Yeah, because we found we get a lot of clients, if somebody is a healer already, in some ways they're almost quite stuck in the ways, aren't they, Rob?
Yeah.
They're almost like, it's a bit harder to deal with, to be really honest.
Yeah, I
If
think
we're
there's
all
a sort of a
honest.
belief in the community that you learn something. This goes back to our modality podcast, I guess,
Yes,
that you
yes.
learn something or a couple of things, and then okay, that's it. I've done that. I've done the work. So come along,
And
let me guide you. And
mm,
you're so unfinished, it's just not true.
yeah,
You and I are
yeah.
completely unfinished.
Oh, yes.
And my goodness, have we
We
got a long way to go, I hope.
admit and accept and unaware of that, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yes.
minute you stop, the minute you arrest your development, and that is
Yeah.
just absolutely not okay in my book.
No,
Yeah, because there isn't an end point here.
no.
Yeah.
Not that
Well,
we see
perhaps
at
there
the
is an end
minute.
point, but it's
Not that we
eons
see at the
away.
minute, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's infinity, what's expansion all about?
Yeah.
There isn't I'm going to expand until just this bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is no basic.
Exactly. Yes.
I sometimes
Yeah.
do the scenario of a balloon,
Yeah.
but the thing about a balloon is it is a bit finite and it will pop, but
Absolutely.
but your field is kind of like that. It'll blow up, but it will, go to however, to infinity if we ever wanted it to. I'd like it
Absolutely.
to
Or you put
shine as
that balloon
bright as
aside
we
and get a
want
bigger
it.
balloon.
Yes, yeah, that's the one.
It's
That's the one, yeah.
on goes the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
terrifically exciting, but you have to keep open to it.
Mm.
And I go through moments where I reject things that I have taken as gospel. So I
Yes.
really thought that and go,
Okay.
that's actually not the case. Move on, move
That's part of
past.
the learning. That is part of the mission and the learning, yeah, that we
Absolutely it
can
is. And
think of
it's
it
the
one
it's the
time.
most wonderful part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really empowering.
Yeah, that's the bit that's
Yeah.
empowering, where you think it was the thing that you had to do in the past, and realize, things like, we've been saying about, how in the past I thought everything was so hard to do,
Yeah.
everything had to be so
Yeah.
difficult and so hard. But that's, if you want it to, it's your choice, and if you want it to, and then how we can understand things are so easy. In my life, is absolutely everything easy? No, of course it isn't, because we still keep going into, I've still got old programming, and every time I go into something and step into, or realize I've quickly stepped into something that's not that I want, I just keep looking at it. Oh, there's something else to look at now. And
Yeah.
instead of going, I used to be, oh no, there's something else to look at. I don't believe it. When is this going to end? Now it's just bring it on, bring it on.
Absolutely. We
Yeah,
carry that
and
energy in, don't we, from our sort of our
yeah,
commercial lives. If most of us have had a
yeah,
commercial life where
yeah.
life is a slog.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
just that,
about earning and
the
providing and all that
conditioning.
stuff. And so
Yeah.
you move into the spiritual realm and then it becomes, oh, this is hard work too.
Yes,
Whereas what you just
definitely.
have to let go of that. It's the easiest
Yes.
thing in the world if you let go.
Easy just to let go and
Yeah.
surrender, and just know, we go, it comes back to the, that you are source. We're going to
Yeah.
go back to source, but actually we don't need to go back. We are already source. We're just
That
that piece
you're
of
already pretty
source.
perfect.
Yes. There's
Yeah.
nothing to
So it's refining
fix.
and polishing.
There's nothing to fix. We're just learning about frequency. That's it.
Yeah.
Which resonance are we choosing to be in? How are we choosing to live? And it that then comes into the realms of being curious about everything and having fun with it, and know that, with compassion, and know that not a lot of things in this human life feel like fun, but that's what we're learning, and that's what we're doing. This human school, earth school is one of the most difficult places to be. But then trust us, the guides have always said, trust us, that none of you would be here dealing with all this stuff that you're having to deal with, all this trauma, if you couldn't cope with it, if you couldn't deal with it. And it's all about understanding it, not avoiding, not living with it because we're avoiding it, and then we're just living with it. We're avoiding the healing, which means then we're just continuing to live in the trauma
Yeah.
of that pattern that we're, living in the past, aren't we? So this is how, if we think about how we can move away, what's the solution? If for those analytical minds and overthinking minds, what's the solution to this? Me and Rob can spend 2 hours at a time with clients going through a particular trauma or a particular thing that they've dealt with, and sometimes it can feed into other sides of the life as well. But in a nutshell, it really is understanding the first thing, understanding yourself. So drop into your heart space to understand yourself at first. If, for instance, it's something that you're dealing with, like bullying, you've had bullying, because yes, as Rob said, actually there's a lot of bullying at the minute going on in the spiritual world, and a lot of pressure in the spiritual world to be, I would say, something that you're not.
Mm.
And we don't want to be that. So again, if we keep stepping into our own power and understand, this is how we then connect with the guides and understand what's going on with the guides at any moment in time. All these downloads, I wasn't in meditation as such. I was just literally wandering about and just decided to write in my notebook and just getting things about unity. The first thing I get about unity is, the first question I ask is, what on earth are you on about? What do I need to talk about there? And that's okay, to say about that. And it comes into this realm where you start having memories of, oh yes, this happened, and this happened to me. So this is why I brought up bullying again, thinking that, I think there's a lot of something that's going on in the world at the moment as well, is just think about that other person. Once you've got into your safe space, which is you are safe in your own space. If you're not, you've just got some trauma to deal with. Once you are in your full power and you've taken breaths and you're working from a neutral observer, have a think of the person or those people who are doing that thing to you as you would see it, and understand that everyone, just like us, everyone is working through and dealing with traumas of, let's call it, the past. Everyone is working with conditioning. Everyone is working with brainwashing, all the things that are coming through our brain waves at the moment, through media and also and the environment and all sorts of things. Everyone is working with those, sort of the neurons that are firing in this same way, that you have the power to make the change, to make the choice right now, to make that change, to break away from, from the old traumas, understanding that everyone's in the trauma, everyone's dealing with the same thing, is then understanding why that other person has felt the need to be the bully, and be the recipient. Somewhere along the line, you've got cords attached and you've got contracts, and we could look at all that, but honestly, I've seen cords and contracts just disappear, just float out of nowhere, when somebody just suddenly realizes, that realization, huh, they're just in the trauma as well. Huh. Well, actually, I choose not to be now. I see what they're going through, and I realize what's happening. And that's when we get into understanding the connectedness and the unity, both within ourselves and everyone else. And then when we can also go to our tribes to collect information, who are also sort of on our level, on our resonance, and might be trial and error, but but see how you go with that. It's, there might be, sometimes people will be a bit more resistance to it, but essentially that is all it is to heal from trauma, particularly with another person, is just to understand where they were coming from. And this is not condoning. It is not the same thing as it being okay. It's healing yourself. So you're not carrying, that that parasite. You're not carrying that energy, that negative energy within you, that's then making you ill. And that illness we're not seeing as the connection, and there's another connection there. Or the illness within you is part of your unity, is part of understanding that you need to look into what's making you ill, and look into, an actual cause that's more emotional, something inside that shouldn't be there, that's not sitting, not sitting right. Again, that's the simplicity of it. Again, and it can, it might not take 5 minutes, but maybe sometimes it can. Just depends on your choice and how you deal with it.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Rob?
No, I do, absolutely. It's just really, really important to realize that you are already whole.
Mm,
You
yeah,
don't need putting back together.
yeah.
You are whole. You might need some help with aspects of your life and aspects of your spiritual growth and aspects of your ascension, your vibration. But you were brought here whole,
Yes.
and nobody can take that away from you. You are part of the divine energy.
Mm,
It is yours to use.
mm,
It's the gift given to you. It's the gift given to all of us. It's the one common thing we all have. And if you can just find your still point where you accept that, your 0 point, where you understand that you are part of a divine plan,
mm,
anything is possible,
yeah.
anything at all. And approach that. And if you do approach that from the 0 point, as we call it, then you are a completely open book. And then we can achieve anything together. And you
Yeah.
can achieve anything by yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, we overcomplicate far too much.
We do. That's what the
And
guides keep reminding us of.
yeah, it's the simplest thing because it's in us already.
Mm,
It's just reconnecting to it.
yeah, we've just forgotten.
Yeah, yeah. So none of this hard work, please.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rob and I are all for, our healing. If it comes in the form of activating others, and all that means is awakening the remembrance in who they are, in the unity, in the wholeness of them. It's just we've
exactly. So
forgotten that
yeah,
this all this thing that's going on, all this division, all this duality, which we might have to live with for a while. It's just part of us, us needing to understand that gift, that we can remember that we are the wholeness, and we can, as Rob said,
yeah,
we're just meeting up to, going up to sovereignty that we've always been, and we've just forgotten about it. So yeah.
exactly. That's one way I think we should look at ascension, is that
Mm,
we're shedding what has prevented us achieving
yeah,
our level of
yeah,
vibration.
yeah.
Instead of going, oh yeah, here's a step to climb, I need to get to step 3, and now here's
Mm.
step 4. Oh, I'm in a new dimension, I'm working hard. You're
Yes.
already there. You just have to shed what stops you vibrating
Yes.
at the right level.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's
Which
remarkably simple.
I was going to say, which then becomes so super cool to me. I think, wow,
Yes.
we are working with this. This is what makes it
Yeah,
so interesting. I'm so curious about it. Like, bring it on.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Bring it on.
makes it lovely. Yeah. And I mean, just knowing that we've also got some of the galactic parts of us within us that have also sometimes, they also, when we're seeing now, that the isolation and the abandonment and the rejection can come from that part of us as well, and all we're doing is just bringing that part back and understanding it, and seeing that that's part of our mission of why we came on earth, to free that, to free that from us and work together. A lot of us, started from all over, I mean, absolutely all over many galaxies, to come
Yeah,
together. And if you think how amazing that is, it makes it all worthwhile, and why we would want to heal ourselves and just be in harmony.
yeah,
The unity ultimately, if you look in the definition, it's being in balance and harmony. We don't even want to say I'm healed. It's just about the understanding of it, really. Yeah.
yeah. And if we say galactics, please don't be scared of this. I know a lot of people, it's a barrier.
Yes.
Like, oh, I can't go that. That's too much.
Yes.
Do some work. Do some work with us or with whoever you want, and you realize just how simple this concept is, and how obvious it all is, and how unscary it is.
Oh, yes.
Nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be querious about. Like, what is
No.
that? Are you sure?
Mm,
Open your mind, and you'll be amazed.
yes. Yes. Yeah, and we're getting where a lot of people are. A lot of people are now, as we,
Yeah,
as we talk on these podcasts, as we, even in every day, go to a garden centre with a friend, and they're asking me about something about healing in some way. Who's, never was into
yeah,
anything I did, and the spirituality never was into that. Understanding where we're actually coming from now in terms of
yeah,
that it's not just going to talk to spirits and things like that. It's not just about that for the sake of doing that. It's it's real to have some real understanding about who we are and why we're on earth right now. Yes. Yeah, and it really is. I can't keep
mm,
saying the word amazing enough to find out all about it. And I think a lot of people, I think we're getting the inkling that we are beyond human now. I think a lot of us who are coming to me and Robert are starting to think, yeah, I think there is something different here, and I'm open to it. So that is so refreshing, and that's so lovely at the moment. Yeah. Okay,
Right. I
so
think that's us for the
hopefully
week.
that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So please, we do appreciate you listening to these podcasts.
Yeah.
We're doing this to share this with the world as much as we can. So please share this with somebody else or other people who you think will enjoy this and get something out of it. And please, wherever you are, subscribe, like, download, follow wherever you are us, and we do so appreciate it. If you want to connect with us or contact us, the details are below. Bye for now.
Bye now.